Microgains continues to offer you solutions to add weight to your barbell, dumbbells, and weightlifting machines in small increments. No more 10-pound jumps. You know Microgains offers fractional plates for dumbbells and barbells. They also offer loadable dumbbell handles, 5 and 10-pound Olympic plates, micro plates in pounds or kilograms, and a deadlift jack. They also now offer a gym pin to micro-load your lat pull-down or other machine exercises. Pretty cool. Go to microgains.com to get the equipment you need to get more PRs. That's Microgains with a Z. Use code LOGIC at checkout to get 10% off. That's microgains.com. Your press will thank you.
You're listening to Barbell Logic, brought to you by Barbell Logic Online Coaching, where each week we take a systematic walk through strength training and the refining power of voluntary hardship.
This is the Barbell Logic Podcast. I'm Scott, and got Matt Reynolds, as always.
One of our most requested episodes that we've ever had, which is crazy. You guys want us to talk about our favorite business books. You get emails about this a lot?
I do.
And I get 5 to 8 emails a week on business books.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about them, try to pick out our favorite, say, 3 to 5 a piece, see if any of them overlap. We haven't talked about this yet. Well,
let's go back. I want to talk about Cracker Barrel for a second. So Cracker Barrel's got, hundreds of stores, low debt. They don't carry a lot of debt, and they own most of their buildings. And so I was looking at these different stocks, and CVS Pharmacies is interesting. And they've got a low debt to equity ratio and everything. It looks really good, and I was kind of looking at it. It's like, gosh, the financials and everything look like Cracker Barrel quite a bit. I'm like, man, I need to buy some CVS. They seem to be positioning themselves to be able to render like on-demand healthcare too.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's going to be very long. In some states, you're going to be able to go to CVS and
the clinic will be there.
Yeah,
as well.
A little clinic there.
And they'll fill the prescription.
Yeah. There's some interesting stuff going on there. I'm like, man, these financials, they look a lot like Cracker Barrel.
Okay.
I love Cracker Barrel. Bought Cracker Barrel. Should buy some more Cracker Barrel. I'm like, man, I'll get some of the CVS. And I started digging. They don't own most of their real estate. So they're not the same animal at all.
Stuff. Yeah,
they're not the same animal at all. But that's just how treacherous, the financial analysis stuff can be. Like, it's not always, you got to dig deep in the annual report or whatever to figure out what they own and what they don't.
Certainly there are more CVS out there than Cracker Barrel, but
yeah, there are.
Yeah, there's a bunch of locations there everywhere.
Probably too many.
There probably are. Yeah, that was kind of one of their strategies, put one in every corner. But think about the acreage of every Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
That's a big, what's a Cracker Barrel store? It's probably...
Oh, God. If you go read their annual report, they'll tell you exactly what it is. They're very tedious about it. They're like, we have this much for storage, this much for retail space, this much for food prep, and this much for serving. And they talk revenue per square foot for each of those areas.
They're big buildings, and they have huge parking lots.
Yeah.
And these are really nice lawns manicured on it. They're nice real estate plots, for sure.
And they're single-story buildings. They're on tension slab, red iron buildings.
Yep.
They're cheap buildings to build, is what I'm saying.
They've done them well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Cracker Barrel's awesome.
We eat it. You don't eat Cracker Barrel that often, though, do you?
I eat it more now that I own some stock.
How often?
Whenever I eat with you.
We eat Cracker Barrel at least once a week.
Yeah.
If I'm home once a week, we're eating Cracker Barrel.
Hey, listen, if we didn't have Nelson's in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I'd eat Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, that's true. That's Nelson's is like the homemade version, the non-chain version of Cracker Barrel.
For like 90 years. I was asking the guy that owns it. He's one of the great-great-grandkids, I think. I was like, hey, when's the last time you guys changed the menu? He's like,
what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Funny.
Yeah. And he's like, well, we quit making short ribs.
Okay.
So that's the only change they made.
That was 1963.
No, he said he was a little kid. He said he was like 58 or something like that.
58.
They quit making short ribs. I was close. Yeah.
It's literally been that long.
Yeah. And so it's the same stuff every day.
Well, we quit making short ribs.
Right.
60 years. I haven't changed a thing since.
That's a wonderful business. So they call it Nelson's Buffeteria.
Oh, man. I've eaten there, 3-4 times with you. It's good.
And it's a buffeteria.
It's a buffeteria.
So you walk through, you get one entree, you get 2 sides of roll or cornbread, and you sit down. So you don't wait for the waitress to come to your table.
That's right.
So everybody that sits down already has their food.
Right. Water, tea, coffee only.
Water, tea, coffee only.
Nothing else.
And man, they drive people through there. There's a line out the door. They flip their tables probably 3 times as fast as a normal restaurant. Everything they make, they've done it for 90 years. It's perfect. Man, delicious. It's a great business. Yep. They do a good job. Everybody loves them.
Yeah.
They've got Systems. It's all systems.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so good.
Excellent lead in. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about business books.
Mm.
So since you mentioned systems, so if you've heard me talk about business books at all, my favorite business book of all time, and probably the only business book that would be considered a new business book, even though I think it was written in like
It's
80,
still 20 years old or more.
87,
Yeah.
is the E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah.
I think originally called the E-Myth Revisited, just the second edition, I think. So if you go on Amazon, look at E-Myth Revisited. I think that's the best-selling business book. It'll say #1 in business on Amazon, I think, if I remember correctly. And it is a book about systems and standard operating procedures and making sure that you have a consistent experience for the customer day in and day out. I learned how to write systems at Strong Gym after reading E-Myth. That was the first book that really changed the way I do business. And then
So describe what a business system would be.
well, so first off, let's start here. So E-Myth stands for the entrepreneurial myth. And the idea here is in the United States, if somebody asks you, especially if you're in, let's say if you're under 35,
Right.
and they say, what do you do? And you say, oh, I own my own business. I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's
And
not
they
what
go,
that means.
oh, man.
Right.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Right, right.
Having no idea that 99% of entrepreneurs in America are broke. You could make more money working at McDonald's or Walmart,
Mhm.
right? And so it's a myth.
Now, what's an entrepreneur to you? To me, that's somebody that actually starts novel
Correct.
businesses.
Correct. Actually starts business. Yeah, I hate.
I'm an optimizer. I don't really start businesses.
Yeah. No, I'm an entrepreneur.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm somebody who actually starts businesses. I hate the word. I've gotten to the point where, like, if people ask me, I rarely say, I say I'm a business owner.
Right, right.
Sometimes I'll say a business founder, but I don't like the word entrepreneur because that's what every person on Instagram has in their profile is they're an entrepreneur, even though they've never actually started a business. They just have a bunch of dumb ideas they're never going to actually do. So anyway, the book starts and kind of focuses around a fictional character of a lady who is a tremendous baker. She bakes pies and cakes for birthdays and church socials and just whatever, all the social gatherings around town. And everybody's like, oh my God, you're just, your cakes are incredible and your pies and your pastries, everything is, and they're not blowing smoke up her ass. She's awesome. She's this incredible baker. And they're like, you should open a bakery. I mean, your stuff's amazing. You can't lose. Open a bakery. And they finally talk this lady into opening a bakery, and she opens a bakery. And she serves at this bakery the best pies and cakes and cupcakes and pastries and cookies on the planet. And she goes broke because she doesn't know how to run a business. And that's not the same thing. Running a business and baking cakes aren't the same thing. And so the book says, okay, look, in every business, there are owners, there are managers, and there are technicians. And what happens in most businesses is somebody gets really good at the technical aspect of this. They're a really good mechanic. So they say to themselves, you know what I should do? I should open up a mechanic shop. Only they don't know how to run a mechanic shop. They don't know how to manage one. They don't know how to own one. They just know how to work on cars, and that's not the same thing.
Right.
And we see this in the fitness world all the time. CrossFit's the worst thing that ever happened.
Open a
with
box.
people here. Yeah, they're like, look, man, some guy's an accountant or an engineer, and he decides he falls in love with CrossFit, and he goes and gets his CrossFit level 1 cert and starts coaching on Saturdays. Maybe he's even a good CrossFit coach, although I doubt it, but maybe he's a good CrossFit coach. And then he decides, like, I should quit my job as an engineer and go open a CrossFit box. That's a terrible idea. You don't know how to run a gym. You don't know how to run a business. That's not the same thing. And so, by the way, that was me.
Yeah, go ahead and do it. You'll figure it out. Or not.
That was me, in 2008, 2009, while I'm trying to open up Strong. And I recognized, like, oh my gosh, I know how to coach, but I don't know how to run a business. And that's actually, E-Myth was one of the most integral things for me with E-Myth was that not only did it teach me then how to write systems and standard operating procedures and how to figure out how to, begin to hire out and delegate and create checklists for like the lower pay wage sort of jobs in the business so that I could work on my business and not in my business all the time. But it actually was the thing that really set forth this idea that I've got to start reading my ass off to learn about business because I don't know anything about business. And my gym is going to fail if I don't do it well. So E-Myth is definitely my first book and the most important book I've ever read.
The first competitor I bought was a big E-Myth person.
Yeah.
And so that business was clean. When I bought that thing, I knew what I was getting. And I knew that we weren't going to have any trouble, picking up that new kind of service offerings that those people did and bringing them on in. And so, it makes for a pretty valuable business too.
Yeah,
Not only does it let you actually be an owner and do the things that only you can do, which I think is important. Like as an owner, I think you should only do the things that only you can do.
Absolutely. That at least has to be the goal.
Right. You can't do it at first. Clean the bathroom.
In the beginning, you are everybody. Right. Yeah. The custodian's the easiest one to use. Right. So for most businesses, eventually you're going to have a custodian. And a custodian's one of the lowest wage jobs at any business.
Right.
In the beginning, you are the custodian.
That's right.
But like when I was coaching at Strong, and I think back then I was charging $50 or $60 an hour. Well, custodial job is an $8 an hour job.
Right.
So if I could have been coaching for 60, but instead I'm cleaning toilets, it's not that I'm too good to clean toilets. It's that I'm losing $52 an hour.
Right.
Right. And then you get to the point where you continue to refine your craft as a coach. Now, a coach is still a technician. It's just a higher wage technician. Eventually, the goal is to not have to coach, or to coach only when you want to, or only because it's what you love to do. And what you find is that a lot of people in the fitness industry, what they really want to do is coach. They want to be a technician, and they don't want to be an owner. They don't want to be a manager.
I want to coach. I don't want to own a gym.
Yeah, I want to be an owner. I mean, I love to coach, but I don't want to coach 30 hours a week anymore.
Well, yeah, I don't either.
I want to own a business. The challenge of owning and running and shepherding staff, that has been one of the funnest challenges of my life, one of the greatest joys of my life, is the sort of second career of my life. I've absolutely loved it.
Wait a minute. It's your third, at least.
Third career of my life. Yeah, no, it has been. Sure. I just mean the first one being education and the second one being in fitness.
Yeah.
But yeah.
E-Myth's mighty good.
What about you?
Oh, gosh. I've got 3 that I'm thinking about. I typically don't like any of them. I mean, if you go to Barnes & Noble, or you walk past the bookstore at the airport or whatever, and you look at the business section, most of that stuff's absolutely no good and probably not worth reading. Very quickly, I think times have changed, but I think that reading the Wall Street Journal every day for 3 or 4 years is top notch.
Okay. Explain. Why?
Oh, gosh. Well, they've got a personal finance column in there on Wednesdays, or they used to. I haven't been reading it like I used to. It's amazing. They'll, focus on the companies and talk about the financials. They give little business case studies. I mean, everything's in there. I mean, it's about business primarily.
How long does it take you to work through a Wall Street Journal in a day?
You know what? I don't read it anymore.
I know, but when you did.
Oh, gosh. 15, 20 minutes.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm not reading the whole damn thing.
And you scan some stuff, and then you find something that's interesting.
Human
you read
interest story, politics. I want the business stuff, letters to the editor, a few things like that. The Economist magazine, I think, is also very good. That's still good. It's a weekly magazine.
Sure.
That's a big deal. So just for basics.
So you're not even on books yet. You've gone a newspaper and a magazine.
Yeah. I think
Harvard Business Review.
I read Harvard Business Review for quite a while. It's hard to stay with, but it's useful.
I think that's probably the best new thing that's out. If you want to see, if you want kind of cutting edge info that's actually probably got some worth, Harvard Business Review is the best place to go. I would agree with you. The vast majority of new business books are just repackaged old ideas, and most of them are crap and full of fluff. And man, I'm not going to throw any under the bus, but I've read a whole bunch.
Oh, yeah.
And I can always pull something out of, I'm trying to think of a book that I read lately that was, Ray Dalio had a book come out called Principles, and it's really about core values. But there are other books about core values, and it's fine. If you've never read a book about core values, it's fine. But anyway, okay.
Yeah, but a book, I'll name one. My Years at GM, Alfred P. Sloan. Have you ever read that thing?
I don't, but I've got it on my shelf.
It's ridiculous.
It's that good.
It's that good. It's unbelievable.
Okay. It's sitting out there right now. I just haven't read it yet.
So, you had Chevrolet and Oldsmobile and Pontiac, and all these disparate car manufacturers. And if I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I've read it. I've read it 3 or 4 times, but I think it was he and his brother owned a parts manufacturer that were supplying parts, I think, to Chevrolet, I think is what it was. And then slowly in the 20s, they started conglomerating and started buying these different manufacturers, and became General Motors, right? And so it's Chevy and Pontiac, also all their Cadillac, all their brands. And he was instrumental
in all that.
Yeah. And if not the key player in doing all that. And so it's about business systems. Like, they had a huge problem with money.
Yeah, sure.
They don't have electronic banking, and they've got car dealerships all over the country collecting cash. What do you do with the money? How do you know how much money you have?
Sure.
They had to develop systems to figure out even just how much money they had every day. Supply chain stuff. They did serious just financial innovations as far as just like bookkeeping.
Sure.
Like, nobody had ever done what they had done before. And the guy's just a genius, Alfred P. Sloan. That book's kind of hard to find. At least when I found it, I had to really dig. I had to order it from some used book service.
I got it used. I remember buying it used last year. I just haven't read it yet.
It's worth it.
It's excellent, huh?
It's colossal. Yeah.
Okay. That'll be the next one that I read. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go with, because I think I know one of the ones you're going to go with so that we don't overlap, it's right behind me. Except for I just realized I forgot to turn the camera on. So we're not.
Oh, no.
So we're not recording on the camera, but it's okay. So
and we're back. Oh, look, it's on Amazon. My Years of General Motors.
There we go. $18.
Alfred Sloan. Yeah, that's a good book. I think I paid $90 for mine.
I love Poor Charlie's Almanac.
Yeah.
The Wit and Wisdom of Charlie Munger. I'm a huge Charlie Munger fan. That's a book that's hard to find. That is not $18 on Amazon. As a matter of fact, you look it up on Amazon, it may not be on there. It's a little hard to get your hands on. I think I bought mine for 75 or 80 bucks and hard to find. We're going to pull it up right now and see if we can find it. Poor Charlie's Almanac. There it is right there. $61 currently. What's the one underneath it for $279?
It's the abridged one. You don't want that.
The abridged version's $279?
Yeah, that's dumb. Yeah, there are people that collect all of them, you know?
Okay, I get you. And it's good.
Yeah, it is.
Charlie Munger, who is the, what do you call him? Number 2 at Berkshire Hathaway's. He's sort of the number 1 advisor to Warren Buffett. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Best friend to Warren Buffett.
Best friend, second biggest shareholder in Berkshire Hathaway Company, I think.
And the guy is just
crusty.
Yeah, he's like a modern day Benjamin Franklin. Guy's just is so full of just nuggets of awesome. And it's a fun book to read. It's a book that's full of like just little trinket 2 and 3 page little stories. And so, you know, it could be something you could put on the back of your toilet, read it every time you're sitting down instead of scrolling through Facebook. You could pull it up. It's not a book that you have to read straight through. It's excellent. Super enjoyable read. Lots of like nuggets of awesome in it. And so I love it.
So Munger is extraordinarily disciplined and has helped, if not, you know, and Buffett says that he has more to do with Berkshire Hathaway's success than he does. Now, I don't know if that's true. He may just be very kind.
Sure.
But, you know, Munger has a philosophy of business and of life, which is one of, you know, like straight rationality, right?
Yeah.
Economy of everything, emotion, of thought, of everything.
Right. Yep.
You know, he talks about using checklists like a pilot. You know, a pilot has a clipboard with a checklist that he goes through when he does his pre-flight check. Charlie talks about having checklists for everything.
That's exactly right. I think that's why I'm drawn to him.
Yeah, you don't want to let anything fall through the cracks, and he's tedious. There's another book.
He reads about 5 hours a day, by the way. So does Warren. So Warren's famous. If you
Warren. Oh, yeah, Warren.
Yeah, Warren and I are tight.
Right.
That's their date book. If you open up like their calendar book,
they block it off.
Nothing in it.
Right.
This is what we do. We read all day. That's what we do. We walk in, we read, start with the Wall Street Journal, start reading, read through the news.
Don't read the Financial Times, by the way.
No, worthless. So yeah, so it's
they read that, I think so.
They probably do, but if they're reading 5 hours,
right.
Yeah.
And there's another one, Seeking Wisdom. You can buy that off Charlie Munger's website too. It's some third party wrote that, kind of after spending time with Charlie, and it's a good book too. Yeah, those are fantastic.
Avid readers, wonderful guys.
In pairing with that, you can go to the Berkshire Hathaway website and download all of the shareholder letters and all of the annual reports. It's a must read for business. Must read. It's free too.
Yeah.
Buffett is a fantastic writer. He's maybe the most successful investor that has ever lived.
Yep.
And man, he just, as far as we know, there may be some stupid scandal crop up at some point.
Right.
But as far as we know, he's just utterly transparent with his investors.
Yeah.
He believes that they have given him their money and trusted him, and then he has to earn that. And he describes everything that he does with the money, why he does it. And when he screws up, he does an autopsy on it, and it's brutally honest. And so you can go start with the Berkshire Hathaway letters in the 60s when he just owned a textile mill. So I don't know if you guys remember when you were young, your grandpa may have worn Berkshire or Hathaway men's shirts.
In fact, I didn't, but I mean, it makes sense. I know the story of that.
Yeah. So he had bought these textile mills and he ended up owning these, these textile factories that made shirts.
Yeah.
So he formed this company called Berkshire Hathaway, which was actually didn't do well, was a failure. And he managed to squirm his way out from under that problem and then turned it into what is essentially a hedge fund now.
Holding company. They have tons and tons and tons and tons of business.
So when you read those annual reports, you see how he does it. And it's amazing.
He learned from Benjamin Graham, right? So Benjamin Graham was his professor. Wharton College?
I think so.
I was trying to think he didn't get in where he wanted to. And then wherever Benjamin Graham was is where he got in. Of course, it was the best thing that ever happened to him. And as a side note, I don't know that I was going to say this as one of my favorite business books ever, but The Intelligent Investor, which is on top of Titan, which is the biography of Rockefeller, which also could be on this list, but I probably won't. I love biographies, by the way. Biography of Rockefeller, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin. Carnegie, freaking great. Those are all great, wonderful books.
The Intelligent Investor, I don't know if that's one of my favorite business books, but I think everybody should read it. He's got another book called Security Analysis that's pretty nerdy.
Yeah.
If you got the guts, you should go through it and do all the problems in there and work through all of it.
Oh, you got stuff to work through.
It's worth it, but the kind of more palatable version is The Intelligent Investor, but it's the Bible for, value investing. And between reading that and the Berkshire Hathaway shareholders letters, you get a pretty clear understanding of how to evaluate a business and
Yep.
super powerful stuff.
Yeah, the kind of stuff when you're talking about Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel.
That's exactly the sort of thing that you're learning how to do there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
After shoes, there is no more important piece of equipment than your belt, and no other company provides the service, quality, and prices that Dominion gives you. Whether you're looking for a 3 or 4-inch lever or prong, straps, or their newest offering, an all-leather dip belt, this is the place to get the highest quality fast. Don't wait months to get your belt. They have your belt in stock now, ready to help you crush more PRs. And you're supporting a small American business when you order. Go to DominionStrengthTraining.com and use code LOGIC to get 10% off. That's DominionStrengthTraining.com to get your new belt.
What next for you?
Kind of in your vein, there's a book called The 4 Steps to the Epiphany by Stephen Blank.
Okay.
He started a bunch of businesses.
I've never read this either.
And another one that used to be super hard to find. When I first found, I heard about that.
How old is this book?
Oh, gosh.
Just
It's probably
ballpark.
20 years old.
Oh, not that old. I bet it's older than that because you're old. Watch it be 38 years old.
How dare you? Yeah, it doesn't say on here. I got a PDF of it. Let me look. Yeah, when I first found it, I was reading about it on bulletin boards.
So that's what, 96?
How dare you? Maybe.
Yeah,
But-
it's probably 96.
Maybe. And he had been part of lots of startups and ended up writing this book called The 4 Steps to the Epiphany, which is about conducting a startup. And it's just
Interesting.
rock solid.
Startup pre-internet book.
Yeah. I think that he coined the phrase minimum viable product.
Oh, okay.
And so he talks about doing, taking samples and doing market research on no budget,
Yep.
MVP, all that stuff. That's Stephen Gary Blank and The 4 Steps to the Epiphany. This one's 2007, but it was hard to find. When it came to me, it was like mimeographed and like spiral bound.
Yep.
And I paid like $90 for it or something. Now it's on Amazon. And when I start a business, I've started 2 or 3, not a whole lot, not like he has. I use his stuff,
Sure.
I use his stuff. He's a titan.
I'm trying to think if there's a good one that I liked there for actually business startups. And I've read several.
Seth Godin's got some really good
Godin's
ones too.
okay. I like him fine. So one of the other ones that I have, which I almost hesitate to even say this one because until your business is kind of well established, but man, Drucker's stuff, the effective executive.
Listen, you don't have to have a business. I mean, you could just be
That's
a
true.
manager.
Just a leader of any type.
Yeah.
But Drucker was the guy. How old is that? God, that's
Some of his books were written in the 50s.
I was going to say it's
maybe
40,
even the
50 years
40s.
old. And so older than that, 60 years old. The effective executive, he just lays out what quality leadership looks like. Ownership.
A while ago, I said that the owner should only do the things that only he can do.
Right.
That's straight out of Drucker. That's
Yeah,
the effective executive.
Yeah. And, referring to everything as we, not I, things like this is a team, we're building a team here, and taking responsibility, like the buck stops here, that kind of stuff. Learning how to effectively shepherd a staff. He does a tremendous job of sort of laying that out.
Yeah.
And man, just absolute gold.
He coined the phrase knowledge worker. Like in the 60s, he saw it coming. He said that we're going to less and less will we be cranking out widgets in creating value in the physical world, but we will be workers with knowledge.
Yeah.
He knew it.
Yeah,
The guy's visionary. And when it reads, it kind of reads like it kind of reads like Marcus Aurelius or something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That book might make the cut.
Yeah, there's some stoicism there for sure. Absolutely.
He's got some tomes, some great big books, but start with The Effective Executive. There's another one called Practical Management.
Yep.
That's a good one, but those are fantastic. Yeah, he was at Claremont College for years and years. You can pick those up pretty darn cheap. Probably get them at your used bookstore too.
A couple new ones that were good for me was I love the story of Amazon, the Everything Store. That's really more of a biography of Bezos. That guy is a stone cold killer. It's excellent. I like it better than the Apple guy.
Oh, right. Jobs.
Yeah, the Steve Jobs biography, although it's fine too. It's good. It's worthwhile.
The Apple story is you almost can't relate to it.
It's surreal.
I can't make an iPhone. I would never make an iPhone.
Yeah.
But I might build a big store.
Yeah. The other one that I like that's relatively new is called Delivering Happiness, which is the story of Zappos.com by Tony Hsieh. And Tony Hsieh is another guy that's run a couple big time companies. He was actually the first guy. You're going to hate this guy. He's the guy that really invented banner ads and then sold his banner ads. Like he was the first guy that figured out how to essentially monetize advertising on the internet. I'm talking about banner ads in like 95, like that kind of stuff, 95, 96. And I think he sold it for like $400 million to Microsoft, and then took that money and became the CEO of Zappos. And Zappos, if you guys remember, that's an online shoe store. And Amazon bought them for right at $1 billion. Gosh, it's been 7 or 8 years ago now. Then Amazon more?
Maybe.
10 years, because I'm old.
Yep.
Getting that way. But the thing about Zappos is that they would win these awards for the best customer service company in the world across all genres.
No. Best service company.
Okay, but they weren't a service company.
No,
they're a shoe retailer, an online shoe retailer. They have no stores, right? So that's the thing that makes it so incredible. And so that story is really in sort of 3 parts. And the first third is the kind of Tony Hsieh's sort of autobiography and kind of his story of the lead of kind of what has all occurred to him. And then the development of what happened at Zappos, and then how to practically apply that to your business. And what it really came down to for me was understanding the need for core values. So to understand like who we are. So for me, I've always had a business plan for any business I've owned, but I've never written a business plan for a bank. So I haven't written a business plan for investors to go get a loan. I've written business plans for myself so that I can always go back and say, who are we? Who are we supposed to be? Who do we say we are? What's our vision? What is our mission? And so much of that comes down to company core values and the values that you set and the company culture. And so he really worked to change company culture at Zappos and create a culture of a service company in a place that was an online shoe retailer, and it worked incredibly well. And so that's a newer book that really impacted me, pretty heavily. And so we have a full set of core values, and we rely on those a lot. And it's really, a lot of those are come out of my own, these are the things that I value in my life. We're actually going to do a future episode. We've talked about, we'll probably do an episode specifically of kind of Reynolds' core values, and we'll do one of Scott's core values, and we'll kind of compare and contrast and see how similar and different they are.
That'll be interesting.
It will be interesting.
Yeah, the transmitting company culture is very, very, very difficult.
Oh, it's the older the company is, the more impossible it is.
Yeah. So we've got onlinegreatbooks.com. It used to be intellectual linear progression, right?
Right, sure.
So I was calling it that. Hell, I didn't even know it was going to work.
Sure.
And it's kind of grown beyond our barbell community, and that name doesn't mean as much to normal folk. And so it's onlinegreatbooks.com, and the method we use is intellectual linear progression. We're working right now to create this culture. And the culture, the people that work with me, Carl and others, you guys know, they get it. But not all the customers do, which is very, very interesting.
Sure.
So one of the things that we're trying to let people know and make them believe is that they can do this. They don't need an expert. They don't need a teacher, and that they can do this.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's really tough. I mean, a lot of these people got 13 to 20 years of schooling that have told them that somebody had to tell them what to think of something.
Right. Yep.
And we're bucking that, and it's tough. And I don't know if we're going to, I don't know if we can win that one, but
you won't for everybody.
No, we won't for everybody.
Will
That's
for
sure. Yeah. So this goes for these business books, by the way. If you have to have an expert teach you, because that's how people learn, who taught the expert?
That's right.
And then who taught that expert?
Sure.
And then who taught that one? It's turtles all the way down. It's just not true. The fact of it is, so we take what we can from these experts. We take what we can from these
Somebody
books.
produce something.
But you have to go do.
That's right.
You have to go do.
That's right. Yeah. And actually for me, I always liked, even when I was in my undergrad in education, and so you have to take a lot of educational theory classes. And I can remember that my classmates hated educational theory, and I loved educational theory because I love pattern recognition, and I can always apply the theory to the practical. I've never had a problem with that. It's just the way my mind worked, which is the reason I think that I'm sort of drawn to Charlie Munger. I think that he's probably the best pattern recognizer, certainly of our time. I'm able to read a book, and this isn't because I'm anything about me being awesome. I just think this is the way my mind works. As a matter of fact, certainly there are probably an equal number of disadvantages to only being able to think this way. But
you think?
Yeah, for sure. To be an overly logical and systematic at everything. But I don't need practical. As a matter of fact, most books, I often will stop reading a book 2/3 of the way through when they get to the practical part. I don't need the practical part.
If it's prescriptive, you tend to go off the rails, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me the theory behind what you're trying to teach me. Teach me the lesson. Don't apply it to my business. I got that part.
Right.
I can do that.
Harvard Business Review actually does a very good job of looking at specifics that you can then generalize from.
No,
they
you're
do
exactly
a good job,
right.
But that's hard to do.
It is.
They're about the only people that can do that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
So I think the last one I'm going to mouth off about is the Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin.
Okay.
I mean, it just tells you how to be a human being and a productive person. You want productivity tips? Go to that book. You want lessons on interest? Go to that book. You want lessons on work ethic? Go to that book. Risk taking? Go to that book.
Yeah.
I mean, People will read that book in 1,000 years.
I would agree.
Man, and it's fun to read. The guy's funny. He's flippant. It's 210, 220 pages or something like that in the normal edition that you're going to find. And man, it is so good. A lot of editions you'll find have a short letter that he sent to one of his kids about interest and about when it's appropriate to borrow, where he breaks it down and he says, for the price of $4 a year, you can use 100. So apparently interest rates in the colonies were 4%.
Sure.
And then he talks about how you can use that $4 per year rent on the money, and that's how he terms it, as a hurdle rate. And so that's what we would call it now. So if your cost of capital is 4%, you've got to do better than that, of course, to make it worth working. But he puts it in terms of rent per year. Man, it's like 3 paragraphs. All you need to know about debt.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. Good. And the guy's just so good. He's every American's grandpa. Put your phone down.
I'm looking through my list of books, my favorite books. So I'm going to see if there's anything else. There's one more I want to mention, and then we'll wrap this up. So the other one that I've used, I've got a list of tons more books. We can do more of these. The other one that I've used more than anything else is probably Crucial Conversations or Crucial Confrontations. It started as one and is now, by the newer one, whichever one that is on Amazon, it morphed into the other. So I have noticed that as my businesses have grown and as I become older and just walk through more of life, I have certainly been required to have more awkward, crucial conversations/confrontations in my life. We talk a lot about voluntary hardship and refining power of things. And outside of strength training, the thing that has refined me more than anything else is every awkward, crucial, uncomfortable conversation that I've had to have in the past 5 or 10 years.
Right.
Everyone that I have makes me a better person. I still hate them. I still hate confrontation. I hate reprimanding or disciplining my kids. I hate doing it to employees or staff. I hate
very lonely about being the leader in there.
It is. Well, that's the heavy as the head, right? That's the heavy as the head that wears the crown. And it's not, everybody wants to be that guy until it's time to starts hitting the fan. And I never had anxiety issues until I was an owner of a business. I don't struggle with anxiety really still, but I will struggle sometimes with the drama of business. The responsibility of running a business that supports 60 families would drive a lot of people crazy. It actually doesn't bother me. My personality is such that it's like I am honored that our business is able to do that. It doesn't scare me. Our payroll numbers don't scare me, even though they're they're ridiculous. But when drama is occurring in a business, in our business, it still affects me. And so to be able to handle,
high stakes.
Yeah, to be able to handle that with wisdom and do it well, even when you have to have a tough conversation with somebody to allow them, to give them dignity and respect, even sometimes when they don't deserve it, is incredibly important. And so I've had to have a lot of hard conversations in my life. I've not just in business either. I've had them in life. And that book really walks through how to do those things.
You're good at that.
So, well, certainly not naturally. I'm not.
It doesn't matter.
Well, no, I appreciate it. I've had to work hard at it. And I've probably had a lot more awkward, crucial, tough conversations at 39 than most people have.
Right.
I think that's part of it too. And so that's an excellent book. So if you're in a situation where especially if you're in leadership role, management role, or even, you need to have a tough conversation with a coworker or a boss or a spouse or a kid or a whatever, that's a really good book to kind of walk through and understanding the purpose of what you're trying to talk about, understand why you don't have to win the fight, but that, that we're actually trying to move towards reconciliation and recovery and not to be a champion and win and, just destroy somebody over conversation. You can hurt people with words.
Yep.
And so to do it in a way that allows them to maintain their dignity and respect is incredibly important. And the book's been huge for me, for sure.
Business is legit full contact sport, high stakes, scary. People that haven't pushed all their poker chips in and bet don't really understand what that's like. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is for entrepreneurs like us who are, again, what'd you call yourself? Not a real entrepreneur, but
no, I'm an optimizer. I'm not an entrepreneur.
I'm an entrepreneur. I think an entrepreneur, I think we've talked about this before. We push all our chips to the center of the table about twice a year. That's it.
Buffett does too. Read those annual reports.
Yeah, it's okay.
Man, he's waiting.
Yeah, it's okay. Right.
Goldman Sachs almost filed bankruptcy. He loaned them
I know.
Sure. And he pushed them all in, man.
He saw it. You know what? The reason I'm able to do that is because of the other career changes I've had to make, right? So as I moved out of teaching and into owning a gym, that was the scariest career move, certainly at that point in my life, than I'd ever done ever. Sure. And I was broke and I was hungry And I had to, yeah, it was a course, and you have to hustle. And I already had a family, right? I had a family at that time of 3, and a couple of years later, I was going to have a family of 4, and had to push hard. And then when we moved from the gym to online coaching, it was the same sort of thing. And so with Barbell Logic and the things that we do here, it doesn't stress me out too bad to push all the poker chips to the middle, because I go, what's the worst that could happen? Right? Like, we understand business. We have good skills as coaches, things that can't be taken away from us. And so if we lose, we'll start over and do it again. I don't want to either, certainly, but it doesn't terrify me the way Alzheimer's terrifies me.
Oh, yeah. It's the best sport, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
It's active creativity, too. You know, you get to create something where there was once nothing, and it's the best. I'm going to rattle off a few. I'm not really going to talk about them.
Yep, do it.
Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
I'm going to zig when you thought I was going to zag.
Okay.
How to Stop Worrying and Start Living.
Okay.
That's his best book.
Is not How to Win Friends and Influence People.
That, probably the best book title ever made.
Yeah.
Horrible idea.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're going to act with principle, you can't do those things.
By the way, he was an ass. He didn't follow any of those. You ever read that about him?
No. He didn't follow his prescriptions.
No, he wasn't likable at all.
Right.
No, he absolutely would put people in their place. But it was a great book. It made that guy millions of dollars, actually. So
yeah, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. It's fantastic. Radical Honesty.
okay.
Brad Blanton wrote that. Fantastic book. Let's see if we can rattle off a few more.
Biography, Thomas Jefferson, I think I mentioned briefly, is fantastic. I like the metrics in Automatic Customer. I don't know that book, I would put that on the book.
You can read that in 28 minutes. And it's
yeah,
still
you,
good, though.
You certainly can. If you want metrics for understanding like how to have a healthy, automated business. By the way, think about what Amazon has done with like Amazon Prime. Walmart's doing the same thing. Like, they all want subscription services. Or like, one of the things about both Online Great Books is that I don't have to call my clients and ask for money every month. It just automatically charges, but there creates an additional amount of responsibility and metrics. And how do we know that we're healthy, and like, what are the right metrics there? And so that book is a good book for the metrics.
For the New Intellectual, Ayn Rand, where she calls for leaders and business people to be thinking people. She wants to take intellectualism away from academia and put it into real practice in the real world.
Yeah.
I think the basis of that book was the famous speech she did at West Point for the West Point graduation in like 68 or something like that. That book is knock down, drag out good. And I think it's a call to, work on your brain.
Sure.
Yeah, that one's excellent.
It's funny. This is a book that I don't tend to recommend, but it's got a piece in it that I love. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is one of those new books that's sort of a kitschy new business
it's
book.
30 years
It's
old.
one of the, it is 30 years old, maybe older than that now. But it's got the idea of the urgent is the enemy of the important, and the kind of 4 quadrants of, how we divide our time up. Drucker talks a lot about this as well.
That's from Eisenhower, I think,
yeah,
by the way.
it's actually it's before that even. Yeah, I can't think of the guy's name. That was the first guy that did that, but it fleshes that out. So
Drucker used it.
That's exactly right. So it comes to, this idea that, quadrant 1 is not important and not urgent. That's scrolling through Facebook. You should stop those things. Don't do them at all. And you have the things that are urgent and not important, and you should farm those things out. Right. And you have the things that are important and urgent. And most business owners spend our time in quadrant 3 doing most of our things that are the things that are important and urgent. And we leave out quadrant 4, which are the things that are the most important, but not urgent, which are the things like reading the great books, making ourselves better, actually producing, like spending time with our family, doing things that bring us value. And then we spend too much time doing things that are important and urgent at the expense of the things that are truly important but not urgent.
Is in quadrant 4 there.
Absolutely.
Have you seen the Milton Friedman 4 quadrants? It's like spending your money on something for you, spending somebody else's money for something for you.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've got Capitalism and Freedom right behind me, one of my favorite, Milton Friedman. Oh my God. And then really, this is great too. Economics in One Lesson by, I guess you could call that a business book. God, is so good. Understanding economics in one big Understanding Economics is a great. Hazlitt has done a tremendous job there. Anything but Thomas Sowell is tremendous. Road to Serfdom, so good.
Make you sick.
That's good. You guys got a good place to start.
Yeah, when you get all those read, get back to us. Let us know.
Yeah, we'll do episode 2 in about a year on this one.
And the older I get, the less I actually recognize something as a business book. Like, it just all goes in there,
Yeah.
There's almost nothing that, any good book is going to help you in numerous ways, right?
Well, that's why we even, we've talked about, like with this podcast, which started as a very logical progression through strength training.
We're talking about books.
Yeah, and it transitions into life, because isn't that what everything turns into? It turns into life. And so you kind of develop this life philosophy, and certainly a massive part of our life philosophy is barbell training, but there's a lot more to it than that to us. And so we'll talk about all those things on Barbell Logic.
Yeah, so get started on those books and let's get some business plans together and let's see if we can't get some stuff started. There is yet time.
Yes, there is.
Well, that's the Barbell Logic podcast. Go to YouTube and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, go check out the podcast. The content's not the same on those two channels. They don't all overlap. You can follow us on Twitter. We're at Barbell Logic. I'm at Scott_Silverstrength and Reynolds is at Reynolds Strong. So thanks for listening and we'll talk to you guys in another couple days.